2 weeks ago, I had never seen The Lord of the Rings. Now it's my favourite movie trilogy of all time. After watching Return of the King and starting The Hobbit, I wanted to experience the journey of the Fellowship again, so I decided to pick up and play LEGO Lord of the Rings. I've been a fan of a LEGO video game series since I picked up LEGO Star Wars the video game for the PlayStation 2, but because I had never seen The Lord of the Rings, I never played the game, and like the movies, this might just be my favourite of the LEGO games. LEGO Lord of the Rings starts with the same opening sequence from the Fellowship of the Ring, introducing the rings given to the dwarves, elves and men, as well as the one ring Sauron wields in the Battle of Dagorlad. The first playable segment gives us the reins to Isildur, Elrond and Elendil as we battle the army of Sauron and the Dark Lord himself, before Isildur and Elrond journey into Mount Doom. The prologue ends and we're introduced to Bilbo and Gandalf of the Shire. From this moment and throughout the rest of the game, it's clear the developers did a remarkable job at strictly keeping the necessary scenes and dialogue which keep the story short, whilst also allowing newcomers of Lord of the Rings to understand its story. Our main characters Frodo and Sam appear and we can explore the Shire. The welcoming green and vibrant village of Hobbiton is perfectly captured in LEGO form from the start, alongside the famous score of the Shire played in the background. But I didn't want to wait around just yet and started my journey by heading out of the Shire. The Fellowship of the Ring in LEGO Lord of the Rings is special for many reasons, but its most outstanding aspect is when the Fellowship come together after they leave Rivendell. Gandalf, Frodo, Sam, Merry, Pippin, Aragorn, Legolas, Gimli and Boromir are all playable and interchangeable. For the remaining levels, the Fellowship can be played however you like. This is what makes the first movie in this game so good, and is what sets it apart from the others. The sense of friendship, family and teamwork that is the centre of the Fellowship. This is what directly affects the level design, because each character of the Fellowship has got to be a worthy playable character for us to want to play as. The level design of LEGO Lord of the Rings is nearly completely reliant on each character's unique abilities. Gimli can break damaged stone, Legolas can shoot arrows and jump high, Gandalf can use magic, Sam can make fires and grow trees, Merry can fish, and Frodo can light up dark areas once given the light of Erendil. The aforementioned is a commonly used tactic in every LEGO game, but none more prominent than in Lord of the Rings, and I like it. It doesn't overly consist of puzzles or combat, but brilliantly mixes the two together. It doesn't stray too far from the story being told either, or unnecessarily drag out unimportant movie segments into long levels. It flows better than any LEGO game I've played, and the utilization of characters is the best I've seen. There are 6 missions per movie in LEGO Lord of the Rings, not including the prologue. I'm not going to cover every level now, otherwise I'd be here forever, but the 5th level, the Minds of Moria, is my favourite of the first movie, where the Fellowship pass through the mines battling orcs and a troll, and Gandalf stops the Balrog as he falls into the depths of darkness.
You shall not pass!
The 6th and final level sees the death of Boromir, which I found quite disappointing. The usual lightheartedness of the LEGO video games resulted in the swap of weapons and arrows into bananas and carrots. On one hand, these games are primarily targeted for children, although with it being Lord of the Rings, I expect most people who bought this game were either too young to understand it or old enough to be fans of the series. But at the end of the day, it is part of a charm and only a small nitpick from me. There's a particular scene I'm disappointed they didn't include in the game, where Sam calls after Frodo on his way to Mordor and nearly drowns, for Frodo to save him. Maybe it's a tad too emotional for a LEGO game, so I understand why it was cut, but it is one of my favourite scenes, so I would have really liked to see it in the game. The Two Towers is the second movie of the trilogy, and the first level starts straight from where the previous movie ended. The Fellowship have split up and Sam and Frodo are on their way to Mordor. Because this and the Fellowship story take place separately, we are given 2 options, the choice to pick which level we want to play next. Of course, I chose to follow the story as close to the movies as possible and didn't stray far from the main levels. I never even really explored Middle Earth or ventured out on any side quests because it felt so disconnected from the main story, but I'll definitely get around to doing so in my 100% completion. Gandalf's epic battle against the Balrog is just as badass as it is in the movie, and we meet Gollum, who we get to play as in later levels. Gollum has got to be one of the most impressively designed characters in a LEGO game, not by his visual appearance alone, but by his animations, movement and voice lines. The way in which he runs, his jolt as he climbs, his weary nature as he stands still, and calling after the hobbits just like he does in the film, all make him so uniquely Gollum. The Battle of Helm's Deep was a very fun level to play. The level design is superb and there's great character moments, 2 of which being Gimli and Legolas competing for their kill counts as they do in the movie.
I'm on
and Aragorn tossing Gimli into the horde of Uruk-hai.
Don't tell the elf.
Not a word.
Return of the King is the third and final movie in the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and my favourite. Again, we're given the option to start with either Sam and Frodo or the Fellowship. Of course, I chose the former and trekked up the mountain steps as Frodo, Sam and Gollum. This is where Gollum shines for every reason I just mentioned. How he climbs up walls and runs up stairs is so unique to his character and makes him stand out from any other in the game. It was in one of Return of the King's levels that I noticed the stud intake more than I ever did before. Throughout my playthrough, I never really pursued studs. If there was a blue or purple, I would jump at the opportunity, but I've always thought it's better to work towards the super kit reward when replaying the levels for 100% completion. That being said, I still on many occasions found myself with True Adventurer anyway, at times just shy from it and at others not even close. So even though it's mildly inconsistent, the stud progression is pretty good and makes me want to go back and replay the levels as it should. Like the movies achieve spectacularly, the Lego game has this sense of building anticipation to the events of the final and my favourite level, Mount Doom. Nearing the end of their journey, we play as a weakened Frodo and Sam as they make their way up into the mountain, and the level plays out like any other, but this time with Sam doing all the heavy lifting.
Come on, Mr. Frodo. I can't carry it for you. But I can carry you. Come on!
The final boss fight is against Gollum, who tries to take the ring from Frodo after just refusing to destroy it. Frodo and Sam are interchangeable in this boss fight and play to take down Gollum and complete the level. The cutscene follows Gollum's death, the ring's destruction, and their rescue.
It's gone. Yes, Mr. Frodo. It's over now.
Story complete, free play unlocked, and with only 26% completed, there's still a lot more to do. What I did first after completing the story was, as Frodo and Sam ran back to the Shire, and I ran instead of fast travelling so I could follow the path we took and reminisce on the journey Frodo and Sam had just been on. Past the Dead Marshes, Lothlorien and Rivendell, I finally reached Hobbiton, the Shire, where the story began. The wonderful music was still playing and I changed back to Frodo's Shire appearance. In that moment I knew this was the best Lego game I had ever played. But maybe I'm just on the Lord of the Rings high, who knows. The game also has a day and night setting, so you can return to the Shire at night and set off some fireworks, and there's a cloud system during the day where the sun goes in and out. Both details I only noticed when returning to Hobbiton after finishing the story. As for exploring TT Games' adaptation of Middle-earth, it's tidily condensed down into a traversable land whilst also not disregarding any important areas. I'm yet to explore it outside of travelling from level to level, but I know there's a lot more for me to do, with its map full of contents, characters to unlock, and small side quests to complete. To my surprise, LEGO Lord of the Rings somehow rivals LEGO Harry Potter as my favourite LEGO video game of all time, but I think it's too early to say which one I prefer. Its characters are equally and brilliantly utilised, the cutscenes and humour never disappoint, the story flows wonderfully, and Middle-earth is a joy to behold. I truly think this is the one LEGO game that was given the most love, admiration, and attention to detail from the team behind it. Have you played LEGO Lord of the Rings? If you have, what did you think of the game? Let me know in the comments below. Drop a like on the video if you enjoyed and subscribe for more videos on games like this one, LEGO and Lord of the Rings. Thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next video.